Luffy will likely get a big bounty increase after the Egghead arc. He did not only successfully escape the island along with Bonnie and one of the Vegapunks, but he also fought a Navy Admiral and 4 of the 5 Elders during the arc. With everything Luffy's done, it's possible that his post-Egghead bounty will surpass the bounties of the other Yonko, and potentially make Luffy the pirate with the highest bounty on the seas. This might not, however, be the only change to his bounty, and we'll later in the video discuss if Luffy might also get the first only dead bounty in the series after the Egghead arc. Luffy's bounties are in some way easy to predict, as he probably has the most straightforward bounties in the whole story. Unlike most of the other characters, Luffy's every bounty so far has had very even numbers. The bounties he's gotten in the series have been 30 million, 100 million, 300 million, 400 million, 500 million, 1.5 billion, and 3 billion berries respectively. Meaning, the increase from 3 billion would probably follow this trend, and Luffy's post-Egghead bounty would most likely be one of the following: 3.5 billion, 4 billion, or 4.5 billion. However, there is also a possibility that Luffy's post-Egghead bounty will also break this trend, and actually be something as obscure as 4,444,000,000 berries. This idea comes from a YouTube user called Aketno, who brings up that because 4 in Japanese can be read as shi, this bounty could be read as shi 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 shi, which is Luffy's laugh. There is a very interesting thing to note about these potential bounties. Aside from the 3.5 billion berry one, all of these bounties are above Blackbeard's bounty. Not only this, but if Luffy's bounty goes even a bit higher than 4 billion berries, he would have also surpassed Shanks' bounty. This increase would make Luffy the Yonko with the highest bounty, and very possibly the most wanted pirate who's currently active. While this could sound crazy to many of you, I recently did a poll on this channel, and even to my own surprise, around 70% of voters thought that Luffy's bounty after Egghead was going to surpass Shanks and Blackbeard's. In reality, Luffy having a bounty like this would actually be long overdue. He's not only a Yonko who defeated Kaido and overpowered the government's best fighters on Egghead, but it's hard to imagine any other criminal currently being a bigger threat to the world government than Luffy. He has now awakened the Nika Soan fruit, essentially making him the second coming of Joy Boy, and the sun god of the One Piece world. We've already seen practical examples of this influence on Egghead, with someone like Emmet waking up and fighting for Luffy in the name of Joy Boy. Luffy could also be argued to currently be the man closest to the One Piece, as he has 3 of the 4 necessary road poneglyph rubbings, and also one of the few people in the world who can read them in Robin. This is on top of Luffy also having a shipwright on his crew who held and possibly memorized the blueprints of ancient weapon Pluton in Frankie. Luffy could also be argued to have the greatest empire of any of the current Yonko. His core crew is made up of 9 elite followers, who already proved themselves to be stronger than the elite of the Beast Pirates crew during Wano. Luffy also has thousands of other subordinates in the form of his Grand Fleet. The Grand Fleet captains themselves have also been very active in the last few arcs. Bartolomeo conquered one of the Red Hair Pirates' territories for Luffy, while Sai and Leo attacked a celestial dragon in the Holy Land. Luffy's own territories also include both Wano and Fishman Island, both of which are natural fortresses and some of the most valuable countries in the entire One Piece world. Luffy's alliances also go even beyond this, with his personal connections to factions such as the Revolutionary Army, the Nation of Zou, the Giant Warrior Pirates, the Sun Pirates, and others. Taking all of this into account, even if he isn't personally as strong as them, there's a genuine argument that Luffy's bounties would not only surpass Shanks and Blackbeard, but already rival Roger and Whitebeard's bounties of over 5 billion berries. Herein, however, lies the biggest problem with trying to predict Luffy's bounty after the Egghead arc. While the things just listed make Luffy an incredible threat to the world government, most of this was already known by the government at the end of Wano. Yet, Luffy's previous bounty was still just 3 billion berry, making Luffy on paper as big a threat as someone like Eustace Kid or Trafalgar Law. While this is clearly not true in practice, it could well indicate that Luffy's bounty will keep being undervalued even after Egghead. It could be that this is out of government propaganda, but frankly, incompetence might be just as good a reason. Bounty numbers have always been very illogical throughout the story, and it's very hard to predict their amount based on rational reasons. For the sake of this video, however, I will try to give my best prediction. Even if the government wants to undervalue Luffy, they have still consistently increased the price on his head throughout the series. And this is still the case even after Luffy awakened the Nika fruit. meaning it's still very much possible that Luffy will actually get a bounty of over 4 billion berry or even higher. This would however not necessarily mean that Luffy would surpass Shanks and Blackbeard's bounties. One of the most interesting things about the final saga of One Piece is that the story is now genuinely a race for the final island between different factions. All of the 4 emperors are currently in a scramble for the One Piece treasure, with them playing an active role in the story at the same time when Luffy goes on his adventures. Just like Luffy boosted his infamy with his actions on Egghead Island, Shanks and Blackbeard have done the same by beating the Kid Pirates and the Heart Pirates respectively. These are also all events that the public has heard about, as seen in chapter 1124. If Luffy gets a boost to a bounty of well over 4 billion berry after Egghead, the same thing could also happen to Shanks and Blackbeard. It could actually be that of these 3 emperors, there is a strong argument that Blackbeard is the one who will end up getting the highest bounty after this arc. Blackbeard did not only beat Law and the Heart Pirates, he also raided Amazon Lily and temporarily captured Kobe. More importantly, however, Blackbeard's subordinates also ended up defeating Monkey D. Garp, the hero of the Marines and the greatest living legend in service to the world government. While Blackbeard did not personally beat Garp, pirate captains seemingly get their bounties raised based on the accomplishments of their crewmates. For example, Bucky's infamy gets built up specifically because the world thinks that he was able to make Mihawk and Crocodile into his subordinates. Arguably, Blackbeard's accomplishments have been even greater than Luffy's during the Egghead arc. Because he is also a menace who targets civilians, it could be that Teach, not Luffy or Shanks, will be the most wanted pirate on the seas after this arc. This could actually become a frequent theme in the final saga. Because all of the 4 emperors are on the move, the pecking order between their bounties could be in constant motion. While the saga started with Shanks being the most infamous pirate, Blackbeard could overtake him by the end of Egghead, while someone like Bucky, for example, could surprise everyone and become the most wanted emperor after Elbaf. Arguably, this would only make the race for the One Piece all the more interesting. While Luffy wants to surpass the other emperors in both strength and infamy, the other emperors would be actively competing against him by also becoming stronger and more notorious pirates along with Luffy. However, what if the amount on Luffy's head will not be the only change to his bounty after Egghead? There's actually a big possibility that Luffy's bounty poster itself could also look very different from how it currently is. This is because the last time Luffy got a bounty raise, the government actually didn't want to publish Luffy's bounty showing his awakened form. Not only this, but they also wanted to remove the D from Luffy's name. The only reason why these things were shown on Luffy's bounty was because of a mistake done by the Marines. The government will probably try to remedy this failure with Luffy's next bounty, and have it show a normal picture of Luffy with the D removed from his name. This might actually throw off some readers, as many are probably not used to seeing Luffy's full name being spelled as just Monkey Luffy. There is also one more change the government could make to Luffy's bounty, which is to make it the first only death bounty in the story. This idea comes from a few commenters to this channel, and there would actually be a lot of logic to it. The government has made it very clear that they're afraid of the Nika Devil Fruit, and have both tried to acquire the fruit and stop it from awakening for centuries. Now that Luffy has awakened the fruit, the only way to fix the situation would be to kill Luffy and let the fruit reincarnate in the world. Yet, I think the likelihood of Luffy getting an only death bounty is still fairly low. While a rational action, as brought up before in this video, the government has never been that rational when it comes to bounties. If they had wanted to kill Luffy by any means necessary after he awakened the Nika fruit, they would have already given Luffy an only death bounty after the Onigashima raid. Yet, Luffy's 3 billion berry bounty is still a regular dead or alive bounty. There's also a strong argument that the Straw Hats will never actually end up getting only death bounties during the series. This is because Goldie Roger's bounty, even at its peak when he had gone to Laugh Tale, was still a dead or alive bounty. This suggests that in the eyes of the government, even if you are one of the strongest pirates who's ever lived, and someone who knows the true history, that still does not warrant an only death bounty. The government could however still go forward with changing both Luffy's name and picture, as these are things they've already wanted to do in the story. Still, even if the government made these changes, Luffy's bounty would probably end up showing both Luffy's full name and him in Gear 5th. The reason for this is that the one who will actually end up spreading the bounty posters will not be the government, but the World Economic Times magazine. After the government tried to extort him during the Wano arc, Morgans has gone rogue, and is actually working against the world government's interests. We've already seen this before, where Morgans went forward with publishing Luffy's Gear 5th bounty after Wano. Morgans has stated that he is Luffy's fan and wants him to be the Pirate King. In a situation where he got his hands on Luffy's new bounty, no matter what the original version looked like, he could very well just edit it in a way that still showed both the Gear 5th form and Luffy's full name, just like it did with Luffy's previous bounty. While Morgans might not know the importance of the D initial or the Nika, the fact that this is information the government is trying to suppress is enough reason for him to publish it. To summarize the points brought up in this video so far, Luffy's bounty may well be over 4 billion berries after Egghead. This would not necessarily mean that Luffy would surpass Shanks and Blackbeard's bounties, however, as they're also likely to get increases after their actions during the arc. Luffy's bounty will also likely still show the D initial, as well as a picture of him in Gear 5th. This is because even if the government wants to suppress this information, the one who will spread the actual bounty posters will still be Big News Morgans. I would next like to briefly address why Luffy is extremely likely to get a bounty raise after Egghead, in case some of you are wondering if this is something that will even end up happening. Essentially, every time Luffy participates in a big event that is public, his bounty increases. In chronological order, these would be beating Arlong, raiding Enies Lobby, participating in the Summit War, beating Doflamingo, raiding Totland, and raiding Onigashima. Luffy did not get bounty increases for his actions in arcs like Little Garden, Skypiea or Fishman Island, because these events happened without the public or the government's knowledge. What's interesting is that the public is not aware that Luffy beat both Crocodile and Moria during the pre-time skip, as this is information the government covered up. While the government did not increase Luffy's bounty after Thriller Bark, they did after Alabasta, meaning that they do in fact increase his bounty even if the public does not know why. While it's possible that Luffy's bounty will remain the same after Egghead, the fact that the government has always raised Luffy's bounty after a major public event suggests that they will do so again. One character I haven't focused on so much in this video is Buggy, which might seem unfair because he is also an emperor just like Luffy, Shanks and Blackbeard. The problem with Buggy is that he's been far less active during Egghead than the other Yonko, meaning that he will likely not get a bounty increase after the arc. It could however be that Buggy will use another way to let the world know his name. If you're interested, you can click here to watch my video on how Buggy could start his race for the One Piece by invading Wano, and quickly catching up to the other emperors in infamy. Other than that, thanks for watching this video to the end.